The university campus, bathed in the golden light of a late autumn afternoon, was eerily silent. The faint rustling of leaves outside mingled with the soft murmur of students scattered in the libraries and study halls. The air was crisp, a subtle chill creeping in from the surrounding woods. The concrete pathways were almost empty, save for the occasional student walking hastily to their next lecture, too absorbed in their own thoughts to notice anything beyond the notes in their hands. The world seemed to move in slow motion, each moment so perfectly mundane, so perfectly ordinary, that nothing could have hinted at the dark twist of fate that would soon unfold. But inside one particular building on the far end of the campus, the balance of the world was about to shift forever. Professor Edward Blake sat at his desk, his large frame hunched over a series of papers. The office, typically immaculate, now showed signs of the chaos that had been brewing in his life. Papers, scattered, books piled high, and coffee cups teetering on the edge of the desk, long forgotten. The overhead lamp flickered as he scribbled notes, oblivious to the mess surrounding him. His glasses were perched low on his nose, his eyes strained from long hours of grading and preparing lectures for his students. He was a man who had built his life on order, on structure, on logic, but the cracks in his foundation were becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. A knock on the door broke his concentration, causing him to jolt upright in his chair. He blinked several times, momentarily disoriented, before he called out, "Come in." The door creaked open, and there she stood. Lauren, a bright but troubled student, her long hair disheveled, her expression unreadable. She stepped inside hesitantly, closing the door behind her as she did. Edward had known Lauren for months. Now she was one of his most promising students, intelligent and diligent, but there was something about her that seemed off. A sense of fragility lingered just beneath the surface of her quiet demeanor. She was always on the edge, always teetering between brilliance and madness. Lauren had come to him for help many times before, asking for extra tutoring sessions, seeking advice on assignments, and showing a rare desperation in her eyes whenever she entered his office. It was a strange dynamic, one that Edward had initially dismissed as just the earnestness of a student eager to succeed. But as the weeks passed, something shifted between them. It was subtle at first, an increasing frequency of private meetings, lingering glances, the unspoken tension that seemed to crackle whenever they were alone. Edward told himself it was nothing more than his imagination, nothing more than his own overactive mind. But deep down, he felt the pull of something darker, something far more dangerous than he was willing to admit. "Professor Blake," she said softly, her voice laced with a quiet unease. I need your help with something." She avoided looking directly at him, her eyes darting around the room as though searching for something to anchor her. "Of course," he replied, trying to mask the discomfort creeping up his spine. "What's on your mind?" She hesitated for a moment before speaking again, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't think I can pass this semester. I've tried everything, but nothing seems to work. I just need more time, more help. Please, I can't lose my scholarship." Edward's gaze softened. He had heard this before from other students, those who were struggling under the weight of their own personal battles. He felt a pang of sympathy for her. After all, she had potential, real potential, and he couldn't stand the idea of her wasting it. "Lauren," he began, his voice low and soothing, "you're one of the brightest students I've had in years. You don't need to worry about your scholarship. I'm sure we can work something out." He leaned forward slightly, his elbows resting on the desk, his fingers tented beneath his chin. "I'll help you, but you have to trust me. Trust that I can get you where you need to be." Her eyes finally met his, and for a moment, something passed between them, something unspoken, something heavy. It was brief, a fleeting moment, but it felt like an eternity. And then she nodded, almost imperceptibly, as if surrendering herself to him. Edward watched her closely, noting the change in her demeanor. She had come to him for help, but now he wondered if it was something more. He had always believed that he was in control, that his professionalism would keep things from crossing a line, but something about Lauren's presence, the way she held herself now, suggested otherwise. It was as though the lines between teacher and student had already blurred beyond recognition. For a moment, there was silence. Then, with a deep breath, Edward stood and walked to the door of his office. "I'm going to make sure you get the help you need," he said, his voice steady, but with an undercurrent of something darker. "Meet me here tomorrow, after hours. We'll figure this out." Lauren's eyes flickered with something unreadable before she nodded again. She turned to leave, her footsteps echoing softly down the hallway. Edward stood at the door for a long moment, staring after her. He couldn't quite shake the feeling that he had just made a dangerous choice.